The biggest corruption story no one in media is talking about. It's not on any cable news. It's never found anywhere. I barely heard about it. No one I've talked to knows about it unless they really, really follow politics, like they have like a podcast or something like that. But the Trump ZTE deal. Now, for those of you that don't know what ZTE is, it's a Chinese brand telecommunications business. I don't know what exactly it is, but I do know they sell sort of telephones, and they have sort of this cunning technology. They were under sanctions a couple years ago, or I think during last year. I'm not sure. They sold stuff to Iran, as far as the most advanced technologies from other U.S. companies. They sold it to Iran, which is against the sanctions, and they were prosecuted for it. They had to pay $1 billion fine, something along those lines, or they would be banned from all American trading or stuff like that. And what's interesting about ZTE is that even on American bases, according to Reuters, they have said that no one's allowed to use those phones because the American military, their fear is that the Chinese officials will use their products to spy on soldiers, to spy on our military. And it's the same thing with public officials. They're not allowed to use those phones, or they don't want to. At least I'm not sure if there's a law in place to stop them from seeing from the Chinese government using that knowledge or whatever they spy on, wherever they uncover against them. Now ZTE is owned by the Chinese government, and what's interesting is a Chinese government company gives $500 million to an Indonesian company, and that Indonesian company gives $500 million to Trump to license his brand name for the hotels. And in return, Trump says we need to create jobs from China. We need to create jobs for China. And when I saw that tweet, I was like, did I read that wrong? That's fucking weird. That's literally against everything he stands for. There is collages. There's hours of video of Trump shitting on China. So it was weird when I saw that tweet. But then you see why. They gave him $500 million, and then he took off the sanctions, uplifted him, and then boom, they're back in business. So he literally sold out the American people for $500 million to enrich himself. And no cable news is talking about that. You know what they're talking about? Stormy Daniels. You know what they're talking about? Russia, Russia, Russia. And I saw a story today. Democrats think that they're going to capitalize on the Russia, the ongoing Putin-Trump summit, and how Trump's response was not good enough, which is true, but they think that American voters care for it. And this is like the easiest layup for these midterms to win them over. How can you not win? And they're looking like they might fumble it. So it's just fascinating to me. This is how it works. You know, you give me a lot of money, and then I do you a favor using the American people, using the office I was elected to, which I vow to help American people. You know, this is just frustrating, because if this was on if cable news was actually liberal like they say it is, they say cable news has a liberal bias. They only do that to sort of bring down the legitimacy of cable news, to think, oh, well, they're biased. Maybe on social issues they're biased, right? On transgender rights or gay rights or whatever it may be. But on economic issues, virtually non-existent. Virtually non-existent. This should be a front page story on every cable news channel, and it's not. He took $500 million. And this is what, his businesses aren't in blind trust. He can actually see them. He can literally say, someone can literally be, hey, do you want to do this? And I'll give you this amount of money. And then he might do it, regarding maybe the political fallout or not. But this is not covered anywhere. So, again, $500 million from a company that was dealing with Iran, which he says is dangerous, and they're not following the nuclear deal, which he pulled out of, which was not true. They followed it for years. So, again, $500 million to sell out the American people. They just bought them. They just bought him. And he doesn't care. He doesn't have any ideology. He doesn't care about his working class voters, lower middle class. He doesn't give a shit. If he can get rich himself, he will. $500 million. This is the issue people should be running on. Whether you're Hillary Clinton, whether you're Obama, if you did that, I would say you have to get impeached. Because you're using the office to benefit your own pockets. That's the... What is that amendment? The 29th Amendment? The annulments clause? Where you can't use the office for your own personal riches? So, dude, like, how is this not a story? Like, this should be everywhere. So, again, I know people are annoying saying, if this was Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton, I would want them impeached. Hands down. They gotta go. And I remember during the campaign trail, Trump used to call out Hillary Clinton for her foundation, the Clinton Foundation, for getting all these donations across the world from foreign governments, and saying that's corruption because they're going to want favors from her. And he's right about that. But then he goes and does it to himself. In 2015, when he was building his own campaign, he built 9 businesses in Saudi Arabia. He opened them up. How is that not corruption? So, but Trump does this thing where he calls out other people, and so he can deflect his own corruption. But again, this should be on every cable news channel, and I don't know why it's not.